Welcome back to the Under 24 podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jason.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Got a lot to talk about since the NBA season and NFL season are starting up soon.
Yes, sir, bro. So let's get into it.
All right, so ever since Kyrie Irving has made comments about the league and suggesting them to shut down, players have followed his lead and have said they are not playing, whether it's due to the coronavirus concerns or players standing up for social injustice. These are the players that have sat out. Forward Davis Bertans of the Washington Wizards, guard Avery Bradley of the Los Angeles Lakers, forward Trevor Ariza of the Portland Trail Blazers, and center DeMarcus Cousins, who is currently a free agent. So, since these players have sat out, how these players not playing affect the team?
I don't think too harshly in reality. You look at the three players that are sitting out that are on teams right now: Avery Bradley, Trevor Ariza, and Davis Bertans. The Wizards were never going to contend anyway, so I don't think Davis Bertans being out is going to be too much of a hard hit for them. But Avery Bradley and Trevor Ariza are where the heavier losses are given. You see, Avery Bradley and Trevor Ariza both played key roles on their respective teams, the Lakers and the Trailblazers. And Avery Bradley, he gave a lot of playmaking and shooting behind LeBron James, which the Lakers needed because they didn't have much playmaking behind him or behind LeBron or Rajon Rondo. And the Lakers had a pretty good defense last year, and that was a huge part of that was Avery Bradley. He was a big pest on the perimeter, and he caused a lot of problems for opposing players. So he will be a hard hit for the Lakers. Another one is Trevor Ariza, who was also a very good perimeter defender and was a very good three-point shooter as well. Now, I do think these are going to be losses for the teams, but I don't think that this is going to be the end of the world for those teams, as both teams have a decent amount of depth and have players that are coming off of injuries that give them even more depth. So I don't think it'll be too big of a deal for each of them. Now, for Davis Bertans, who is on the Wizards, I think it's a smart move for himself because he's been underappreciated and underpaid. And because of how well he's been playing this year, he's in for a big payday. And I think it's smart for him because he wants to avoid the risk of getting injured so that he doesn't take a pay cut again. And it's not like the Wizards are going to contend anyway, like I said. So, yeah. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think this is a huge blow on the Lakers. I know like their superstar players have not been sitting out like LeBron James, but Avery Bradley and is a really good player and a key piece, and he's a pesky defender, like you said, and he is a guy that they rely on. I think he is one of their best options besides him, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And with him out, they really won't be able to go get as far as they could have been in the playoffs. And they have Dwight Howard has said that he might sit out too, but he hasn't made it official. So if they lose him too, it's going to be hard for the Lakers because they can't. They're not really. There's not much free agents left that they can potentially sign. But I've said this before, and I said that I had the Clippers winning it all, and this just helps them because this helps the Clippers because the Lakers were their main threat, and now they don't have to worry about them as much. But like you said before, Davis Bertans, I think he made the best decision because he has had injuries in the past, and he doesn't want to get injured again, so he doesn't get underpaid again. So this is the best move I think Davis Bertans has made because the Wizards are not looking to contend, and even if they do make the playoffs, they're not going to get far. And his stats look good right now, so if he waits until free agency, he can get a big payday, which I think he'll stay with the Wizards. But if another team offers him good enough money, I think he could sign there, and it'll help his chances of getting more money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like your Clippers point because, like you said, I also had them winning it all. I didn't think the Bucks had enough playmakers to win the whole championship. And now that the Lakers are suffering some key rotational piece losses, I really think this is going to help the Clippers a lot in their postseason run.
Yeah, so like I said before, these players are not going to be going to Orlando. to finish the season. So teams will have to look for players that they can sign to help those teams. So how can these teams like the Los Angeles Lakers or the Portland Trailblazers fill these holes?
Well, let's just get out the way that I don't believe Davis Bertans will need to be replaced because the Wizards are not going to contend anyway. With that being said, I think Avery Bradley should be replaced by either Jamal Crawford or J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith is still a very good three-point shooter, no matter how many 2018 finals memes there are, and that's a fact. And Jamal Crawford, although he's old, 40 years old, and is a liability on defense, he's still a bucket. And he should help boost their bench offense, which they struggled with, as their second unit did not have a good guard to go with to help orchestrate the offense. I think those are two good selections because they're mainly players who can play good defense and shoot the three well. And I think that's exactly what the Blazers should be looking for, too, when they're trying to replace Trevor Ariza. And the two people I think they should try to replace him with are either Gerald Green or Iman Shumpert. Gerald Green plays good defense. And with the Rockets, you have to play good defense if you want to be in their system. And since he has been in their system, we know that he can play good defense. He has the athleticism, the size. He has all the tools needed to hang with quick guards and with the bigger forwards. And one key thing that I also think teams will look into him for is the fact that he shot 36% from three-point land last year. So they all believe that he is a good shooter. Now, Amon Shumpert, we all know he's known as a three-point marksman, but I really do believe that he's underrated on defense playing for that Cavs team. And you can see that I talk a lot about three-point shooting and defense, but that's really because that's what those that's what those holes are on these rosters of the Lakers and the Trailblazers. Now with Avery Bradley and Trevor Ariza gone for their respective teams, each of them played really good defense. We had really good three-point shooting, and now that we know the difficulty of replacing these 3D wings, 3 and D wings, I know this is kind of random, but I think we should start recognizing their value because I really think that 3 and D wings are underappreciated in the NBA.
Yeah, I think for the Portland Trailblazers and the Los Angeles Lakers, they both lost players that were good three-point shooters and defenders. And Avery Bradley, he was a pesky defender that always gave pressure to the guards. So they it's going to be hard for the Lakers to find a player that can that was almost like Avery Bradley who can shoot the three and and be a good defender. But the Lakers have been looking for a playmaker when LeBron is not on the court. So they have some options in Isaiah Thomas, who's a guy who's undersized. I don't think they will really sign him, but if you're looking for playmaking, I think you go for him. Or you can call Darren Collison. I mean, he's a guy that has retired last year, but he can come out of retirement and play for the Lakers to possibly win a championship. But they do have other players on their roster like Quinn Cook, who has had playoff experience and a guy that you can really trust. So they don't really have to worry about that too much because and J.R. Smith has been in the front runner for the conversations to replace Avery Bradley. He's a guy, like you said, a guy that's a pesky defender, and you could see that in the 2016 and finals when they won. He was a guy that was always on Klay Thompson or Steph Curry because he was such a great defender. And he can also shoot threes, So I think he's perfect for Avery Bradley. But he hasn't been playing for almost 1.5 years now, and you don't know how well he's going to come back. So that's going to be hard for the Lakers to choose a player. For the Trailblazers, I think you don't have to necessarily sign a guy because Melo said that he might opt out too, but we don't know that yet because he hasn't made it official. So I think you play your young guys like Gary Trent Jr. He's really good, but if you want to sign someone like you said, Gerald Green or Iman Shumpert was really good because Iman Shumpert this season when he was played with the Nets, he had 11 steals in 12 games. That just shows how good of a defender he is. So if the Trailblazers are really looking for defense, I think Iman Shumpert's the guy to go for. But the Wizards, they shouldn't really do anything. Like you said, they have Davis Bertans, who they lost, but they're not. Their chances of making the playoffs are low, and they should. I think the best thing that the Wizards should do is play their young players like Troy Brown Jr. or Moritz Wagner, who can develop and become a solid role player for them next year.
So what you're saying is the Trailblazers shouldn't try to sign anyone?
I'm saying they can sign someone, but I think they have enough players or enough depth to play their young players.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but they don't have enough depth at the wing position. You know what I'm saying? They have like Gary Trent Jr., but who's someone else that can really play that small forward position on that roster?
Yeah, I know there's not like when you look at their roster, there's not like any eye popping like, oh, this guy is really good. But they have some key players on their roster. I know they traded away Kent Bazemore for Trevor Ariza, but Trevor Ariza is way better than him. But there's not many options on the free agent list right now. Like most of the players have been signed already, so I don't know if they really want to sign someone right now.
I mean, the thing is, they don't have to sign that player for like a full year. They really only have to sign that player for that tournament. You look at the according to ESPN, the depth chart for small forward behind Carmelo Anthony. I don't know. Like, I don't think Mario Hezonja is a starting caliber small forward. Gary Trent Jr. is a decent, is an up and coming player. But besides that, I'm not too sure they have enough. And because of the fact that they're allowed to only sign that player for the rest of this season, I feel like there's no hurt that it can do. It could only benefit them. Low risk, high reward. So I think they should definitely try to sign either Amon Shumpert or Gerald Green.
I don't really think so because you have to realize that they have to fit into that system and learn all the plays, and they only have about a month to do that, and they only have 8 games to prove that they're worth the on the team, the being on the team, and deserve playing minutes. Because if I found like the first couple games they don't prove that, they're going to be right out of the rotation immediately, because the Portland Trailblazers are a team that want to get to the playoffs, and they if they want to get to playoffs, they have to almost win every game. And with a new player coming in, I don't think they'll be able to do that, because they'll have to learn the rotation and the plays.
I get what you're saying based on the chemistry wise, but I feel like talent wise, if there's someone you can pick up for basically free, I would say why not? Especially because it won't hurt if they're out of the rotation anyway. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think talent-wise, I agree with you, but if you're looking on like chemistry-wise, I don't think the Trailblazers have time to help those players within a month just to get ready and go to Orlando. So let's talk about the NFL. This past week, Jamal Adams has requested a trade from the New York Jets after they failed to reach an agreement on a new contract. We have talked about Jamal Adams before on episode 1, and if you haven't seen that, go check it out. So when Jamal Adams requested a trade from the Jets, he had 8 teams he wanted to go to. Those teams were the Dallas Cowboys, the Baltimore Ravens, the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Seattle Seahawks, the Houston Texans, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple days after that, a fan asked him if he's trying to come to the Cowboys, which he responded saying, quote, "I'm trying, bro." So there is a connection between him and Dallas. So what is your best trade proposal for Jamal Adams to the Cowboys?
Well, if I'm looking for a way that it benefits both ways, I'm kind of giving the Cowboys a little bit of a steal, but I feel like it's basically equated. I think what my best trade package was a 2021 second round pick, a 2022 second round pick, a 2022 third round pick, and the Cowboys safety Xavier Woods. You see, the two second rounders make up for the Jets' first round requirement, which they placed on Jamal Adams because he's such a talented player, and to get something back for him, it's probably going to require a first round pick. But I feel like 2 second round picks is plenty for to make up for a first round pick. Then Xavier Woods, I think he's an up and coming safety. You see how he's had 5 career interceptions in his 4 years of playing, and he's improved. He's been improving every year, and some people have even projected him to become a Pro Bowler this year. So I feel like he's definitely someone that that's a solid replacement for Jamal Adams because of Jamal Adams' unhappiness in New York. And along with when it comes to the fit, I know they signed safety Clinton Dix earlier in free agency, and while he does play strong safety and Jamal Adams does play strong safety too, I believe Clinton Dix does have the ability and athleticism to move to free safety while Jamal Adams to continue to play strong safety. What do you think? What's your best trade?
I think I don't think you necessarily need to give up Xavier Woods because he's on the last year of his deal, and I think the Jets are looking if they're looking for a player, they're looking for a guy that they can keep for at least 2 more years until they have to pay him. So I think a blueprint of the Cowboys can look at is the Jalen Ramsey trade. I mean, you look at last year when he was unhappy with the Jaguars, he got traded for basically a lot of picks, like about 5 or 4 or 5 picks. So I think the Cowboys should do something like that. So I think they should give up a 2021 first round pick, 2022 third round pick, and a 2021 fifth round pick. I think that helps the Jets because they get a first round pick in return, and the Cowboys are going to be good this year. So that can be a late 20s pick. So I think the Jets are okay with that, and they also get a third round pick for next year and a fifth round pick, which it's not worth much. But I think if the Jets want to give up Jamal Adams and make him happy, I think that's you have to do that trade because the longer you wait, the quality of the trade won't be good, and I think you won't get as much pieces as you really wanted. So I think if the Jets want to trade him, they're going to have to trade him as soon as possible before the season starts. And like you said, they're not. I don't think the Cowboys want to really give up Xavier Woods because he's a guy that's on the last year of his deal, and they don't have players that can play the free safety. They've signed Clinton Dix and um, Xavier Woods, but those are players that can play free safety while Jamal Adams can play strong safety. So if you trade those players, I don't know who you really want as your free safety. And I know the Jets wanted players like Michael Gallup or Blake Jarwin, but I don't think they're willing to give up those young players either because they're very young and they can develop into Pro Bowlers.
Well, simply put, I would disagree with you. I don't think they should give a first round pick, a third round pick, and a fifth round pick. You see the 2 second round picks that they have. Just like you said, the Cowboys will be good this year, and because of their talent and how good they'll do, those second round picks, they're basically giving up 3 third round picks because of the 1 third round pick that they're already giving up. And the 2 second round picks will be super late in the draft. So basically, in my draft, they're giving up. They're in my trade, they're giving up 3 third round picks and a safety in Xavier Woods. And I really do think that they should give up Xavier Woods because, like I said, Clinton Dix actually has played free safety in nickel packages in his NFL career. So he has experience with that, and he can play it very well. And I feel like the Xavier Woods situation is somewhat like the D'Angelo Russell situation for the Golden State Warriors last year. Xavier Woods is not good enough to start over Clinton Dix and Jamal Adams, but he's not bad enough to be benched. So because of that reason, I feel like he should be shipped away if they want to get Jamal Adams.
Yeah, I don't really agree with you because you said those second round picks are basically third round picks, and I don't think the Jets will really accept that because you're trading a guy that was a first round pick in Jamal Adams for for like you said 3 third round picks. So I don't think the Jets are getting enough value there. So I think if you give up a first, which is a late first, or you can consider it an early second, I think that helps the Jets because they can get a guy like Jamal Adams, like not they're not going to get a guy exactly like Jamal Adams, but they can get a guy that they can develop into a Pro Bowler, and he can become a very good player. And with the third round pick and the fifth round pick, you can if you scout properly, you can get a good player. As you've seen in drafts before, players like Dak Prescott and Antonio Brown, they've fallen all the way down to those late like fifth or sixth round uh, draft slots. So I think you can still draft a good player in those late rounds.
I get your point, but the problem is the Jets don't draft too good. I mean, you've seen their history. They've made a lot of bad selections and a lot of busts, and because of that, I don't feel like they should take those third and fifth round picks because I feel like it'll be a waste of a pick. And the thing about second round picks is they're kind of a mystery because you don't really know how good your team's going to do. You saw the Cowboys, how like in their rookie years, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott led the Cowboys to a 13-3 record, the top of the NFC. But look what happened this last year; they went 8-8. And so it really in football, it really is a mystery because anything can change like that, and it's so quick. There's so many changes. That's why you don't see Super Bowl teams being dynasties for too long because so many things change in the NFL very quickly, unlike the NBA. And for that reason, I feel like the second round picks, you never know what it could be. I feel like the Jets would take the risk of taking those 2 second round picks. And what's even better for the Cowboys is that if if the Jets take a long time to trade Jamal Adams, the value of the trade, like you said, will only go down. And because of that, I feel like since the Jets will be hesitant for these first couple weeks, the value will go down, and because of that, their asking price will go down, and that means they'll be able to get my deal done.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, Jamal Adams has 8 teams on his mind that he would like to be traded to, and we just talked about the Cowboys. So which other 7 teams are the best fit for Jamal Adams?
Well, I think there are 2 teams who have the best fit for Jamal Adams. I think it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers. You see, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a very good front seven with Shaquille Barrett, who had 19.5 sacks last year, Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, Devin White, Levante David, and so many more. They have a lot of good pieces in those D-line and linebacker units, but that's not exactly the case for their secondary. You look at their cornerbacks, their safeties. There's not really anyone you can recognize right off the bat, other than Antoine Winfield Jr. And he's the up and coming safety, and has the athleticism and talent to switch to free safety. And I feel like he's still improving, and he will be the problem solver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I feel like if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do get Jamal Adams, they will be a very, very scary team. And I feel like it's a similar situation with the 49ers. Their front seven is elite with Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw, Arik Armstead, D Ford, Fred Warner, Quan Alexander, so many others. And not only that, they also have a quality cornerback group. You're looking at Richard Sherman, Akila Witherspoon, Emmanuel Mosley, and a couple more. And I feel like of all these positions, there's really only one need they have: strong safety. And if they can find a good strong safety, aka Jamal Adams, their defense could be pushed over to the top, and they could very likely win the Super Bowl next year. The cap situation would be tough to navigate, but I feel like John Lynch and his group of staff members could do a very good job with the cap, and eventually, like I said, it could lead to them winning to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think those are very good points. But let's be honest about Jamal Adams going to the Buccaneers. I think he just wants to get a ring because the Buccaneers are already super stacked. They signed Tom Brady, they got Gronk, and they have Mike Evans. So, and they have a really good team. So I think him going to the Buccaneers is just him trying to get a ring next season. But I think a team that really needs him is the Philadelphia Eagles. They need a safety, and that could be Jamal Adams. And I think he can make that team good because Carson Wentz hasn't been good, and they drafted Jalen Hurts, who is a guy. If you look at the Eagles' history, I think backup quarterbacks have been better than Carson Wentz. So I think having Jalen Hurts is good for the team, and they could possibly, like a couple years back, they could possibly win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they can next year, but they can get to the playoffs possibly. But I don't think they'll get to the Super Bowl. But another team, I mentioned this before, is the Houston Texans. They have cap space, but they also need to pay him in the future and Deshaun Watson. So they they have to manage that properly, and I don't know if they want to go all in for him, and I don't know if they want to trade with Bill O'Brien as your GM and coach. So I don't know if that's if you're the Texans, you want to trade for him. But another team he can go to and have a lot of immediate impact is the Ravens. They can become a Super Bowl team next year, and they could possibly become a really good team for the next 2 years or so because they have Lamar Jackson and they have really good players. So I think Jamal Adams really, I think all the teams that he mentioned are the best teams he could go to. But like you mentioned, all our teams are, I think, the best ones for him.
I agree with some of your points. I don't think that I think the Eagles definitely do need a playmaker at safety after cutting Malcolm Jenkins, and but I don't think the trade situation will work out with how Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman have been working recently. Um, for the Ravens, if they do get him, um, they could be the next Legion of Boom. They could do really, really good. And it could definitely push them over the top, just like Jamal Adams would do for a lot of other teams. They'd get another leader on defense along with Earl Thomas and Marlon Humphrey. But I don't feel like they should focus on their secondary right now. Their secondary is already incredibly elite with two All-Pros at quarterbacks in Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, and then a Pro Bowl or All-Pro safety or free safety and Earl Thomas. I think what they should focus more into is their front seven. You see Calais Campbell. You see their first round pick, their linebacker first round pick, whose name I forgot just now. I don't know why, but their front seven is not the best in the NFL, and they could definitely improve. They have several key pieces in Matt Judon, Calais Campbell, and that linebacker whose name I can't remember. But I feel like they should invest more into that front seven instead of focusing on the secondary. For the Houston Texans, I don't really feel like that's a team that Jamal Adams really wants to go to. Although he did put it in his list of top 8 teams that he wants to go to, I don't think it's the best fit for him.
Yeah, I think he just wants to go there because he is close to his home, which is in Dallas. So Houston is not that far away. So I think that's why he mentioned the Texans.
Yeah, and along with that, I know they have cap space, but I don't think it's worth it for either of the team, either party. I don't think it's worth it for Jamal Adams and the fact that he probably won't win. And knowing Bill O'Brien, I wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun Watson was included in the trade for Jamal Adams. So that wouldn't be too good for Jamal Adams. But other than that, I definitely see your points.
Yeah, we know that Jamal Adams is a game changer for any of the teams he goes to. So I think that's something the team he goes to is the team can improve a lot. So let's stay with the NFL. And the NFL draft was in April, which had many great players that could make those teams successful or even make those teams better. Players like Joe Burrow, Chase Young, and Tua Tagovailoa were the top players. But there are some players that were drafted low and that could make a huge difference to the team. So who do you think is the biggest steal of this draft?
Well, with me speaking about linebackers, I have to go with Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. With respect to this steal position, I feel like I should mention Jeremy Chin, who is the safety, who is basically a great value version of Isaiah Simmons with his versatility in the defensive position. But I don't want to pick him because Zach Bond was an incredible steal for the New Orleans Saints. You can see, according to ESPN, he is the number 2 ranked outside linebacker behind the only incredible, like I said, Isaiah Simmons. And in many mock drafts, if you check them out, especially on NFL.com, everyone said that Zach Bond was going to go in the first round. And the Saints got him in the third round with the 74th overall pick. That's great value for a great player. And I believe that if he develops properly under Sean Payton, head coach Sean Payton, and defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, I think he could definitely be one of the biggest draft steals of all time.
Yeah, I think the Saints can develop their young players. I mean, you have seen that they have had success, so I think adding him can help that team get farther into the playoffs. But a guy that you mentioned was Isaiah Simmons, and even though he was a top 10 pick, I think he is a really good steal. I was projected. I thought he was going to go top 5 pick, but he can. The reason why I think he's a really good steal, even at a top 10 as a top 10 pick, he can virtually play every position on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at him, I think that's what separates him from other players in that draft. Because if you look long term, if the Cardinals sign a player on the defensive side of the ball, like a safety or a linebacker, they can move Isaiah Simmons to any other position, because he's so great at playing those other positions. So I think with him, he's a great steal for the Cardinals. But another player is CeeDee Lamb. Even though he went in the first round, he was projected to go like 10 to 15, but he went to Dallas, and that's just another weapon to an already stacked team with Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Blake Jarwin, and now him. So I think that just helps the Cowboys.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. CeeDee Lamb was definitely a steal for the Cowboys. He can be a great playmaker, and eventually he could be the next great number 88 to play for the Cowboys. You look at all the wide receivers who played before him in the jersey number 88, Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant. He could definitely be just like them and live up as one of the Cowboys' greats. I definitely agree with your Isaiah Simmons pick, but like you said, I don't think he's that much of a steal because he is a top 10 pick. And if you want to talk about his versatility, I would definitely go with, as I said before, Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin played in college, and he played a lot of different positions. He, like many people have said, if Isaiah Simmons was the brand name, Jeremy Chin is the great value for a versatile
Yeah.
linebacker, and I feel like he can definitely make a huge impact as a draft steal for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, so a lot of these rookies will take time to get used to their new team, but some players will have an immediate and lasting impact on the team. So, which rookie do you think will have the best impact on their team?
I got to go with Isaiah Simmons. And respect to Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. I do think as quarterbacks they will have a huge impact on their team, but I don't think it'll be right now. You're looking at the closest one of those QBs to make a big impact, just like Isaiah Simmons, is probably Justin Herbert because of all the weapons he has. Looking at the Los Angeles Chargers with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, you can see that they have a lot of good talent at the receiving position, but I don't think he'll do as good as Isaiah Simmons. We're looking at Joe Burrow. He doesn't have the weapons around him besides T. Higgins, AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. They all are tremendous talents, but without an offensive line, a running game other than Joe Mixon, it could be a problem for him as he's trying to make an impact. Tua has the same position. His O line got better, but his receivers are definitely need help. Now to go with Isaiah Simmons. when you look at the Arizona Cardinals defense, they probably had according to yards allowed, they definitely had the worst defense. They ranked dead last in yards allowed. So you can definitely believe that they had one of the worst defenses. But that's not to say their talent is not there. They have so many talented players in Arizona on the defensive side. And with Simmons' versatility, he could be the final piece of the puzzle to the Arizona Cardinals defense being one of the best in the NFC West because they have because they have multiple playmakers on the defensive end. And I'll just list them out for you. Chandler Jones, Isaiah Simmons, Patrick Peterson, Buda Baker, Brian Murphy Jr., and Jordan Hicks. Oh my Lord, they have plenty of playmakers on that side. That kind of reminds you of the 49ers defense with how many playmakers they have. And I really feel like because Isaiah Simmons will help them click, I feel like the Cardinals can definitely make the playoffs with their improved offense as well.
Yeah, I think those were great points that you made. But you said Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa were players that will take time. I don't think so. With Joe Burrow, there's reports saying that he has been studying the Bengals film for before the draft even started, so about a month before that. So with him studying their plays and watching film about them, I think that will really help the Bengals as now they can improve. And I know they don't have that many offensive weapons that he can throw to or a running game. I think he can still help that team improve from last year's record. And I think that's what the Bengals are really looking for. They're not looking for to make the playoffs necessarily, but they're looking to improve from last season. And they're not trying to become another team that's going to be a bad team again. They want to improve. So by next season they can be a playoff team. But another player is Justin Jefferson. I think he can fill the hole of Stephon Diggs, and I think he can be more reliable than him. And you look at Stephon Diggs, he wasn't as reliable, and now since he got traded to the Bills, I think with Justin Jefferson, I think you can rely on him, and with all their weapons, he was just added when he just added to that. I think that helps Kirk Cousins with all the options he has on the field.
Okay, so from what I heard, I see Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson. I definitely agree that they're great players, but the question was how much of an impact, which rookie would have the best impact on the team. And I feel like I get what you're saying. With Joe Burrow, they're trying to improve, but that's all they're trying to do, improve. I don't think they'll unless okay for Joe Burrow to have the biggest impact on the team. I would say the Bengals would have to have at least 6 wins next year to improve by 4 games, and I feel like that's the only way that he will be named the rookie who gave the biggest impact because. The Bengals, that's really all they're trying to do, like you said, improve. And I don't feel like improving means that they'll have the biggest impact. Justin Jefferson, he's definitely a great player. Let's be honest. He's definitely a great player. Played at LSU with Joe Burrow, had a great season. But at the wide receiver position, you aren't really a game changer unless you're already established one of the top receivers in the game. And he wasn't even one of the top 3 receivers in his own draft. So because of you're looking at Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and CeeDee Lamb, because he isn't even one of the best receivers in that draft, I wouldn't say that he's exactly going to be an instant impact playmaker for the Vikings. He'll definitely be a good wide receiver, but he won't be that person who takes them to the next level after filling that hole caused by Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I think I'd have to disagree with you on the Joe Burrow part because I think Joe Burrow can be a player that helps his teammates out and make them look better. Like an example of this is like Tom Brady. He makes the team look better even with his age. He's still a great quarterback.
I'm not disputing that. I definitely think that he'll make them improve. But do you think he's the rookie that'll have the greatest impact on his specific team?
Yeah, I think he can make his teammates around him better because he's learned the playbook and he knows what to expect.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but is he going to improve the Bengals enough as Simmons probably will improve the defense of the Cardinals enough?
But you have to look at where Simmons is. Like already has a core built around him, so he just fits in perfectly. So I think with him, you can't really say that he'll have an impact because he's just another guy that can help them. With Joe Burrow, I think you can say that he'll have an impact on the team and help them improve. And maybe next year you can see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I have to dispute that. Just because they have a core on them doesn't mean they have to they're not going to make a big impact. The 49ers, they were pretty bad before Nick Bosa came in his rookie year last season. Do you think Nick Bosa made a big impact on that team?
Yeah, he has, but they have to look. You have to look at their other players like Richard Sherman. He was one of those key players, and even Jimmy Garoppolo. He made others around him. That's why they got to the Super Bowl. So I think,
Yeah, but I'm just saying what that defense was pretty underwhelming until Nick Bosa came,
yeah,
and they already had a good group of core guys with them, and I feel like Isaiah Simmons will be the exact same case.
yeah, I think this year's draft class is very stacked, and they have very good players that can have an impact on their teams. So So we have started a series and we will talk about 8 teams that did not make the 22-team format this year. We have talked about the Charlotte Hornets and the Chicago Bulls, and now this week we will talk about the New York Knicks. We have talked about them before on this podcast, and they're a team that gets laughed a lot because they are very unsuccessful and they have made poor decisions which could be a player signing, a player trade, or a front office signing. This year, the team is 21-45 and haven't improved as much as we thought they would. Their roster is kind of confusing to say the least. But who do you think the New York Knicks should try to keep on their team?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate the Knicks for finally making the right move at the general manager position and choosing Leon Rose. Leon Rose is definitely going to not the general manager position, the president of basketball operations position. I think that he has a vision, and I feel that he will carry on with that vision and bring the Knicks back to at least a little bit of their former glory, quote unquote. And according to Leon Rose, his Knicks look like they want to build around two players, RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson. And I definitely agree with Leon Rose. These are two players I would for sure keep. And some other players that I will keep include you see Kevin Knox, Alonzo Trier, and Dennis Smith Jr. And I know might not be a lot of players, but I have a good reason for them. And each of these players are under 20 years old. They're 22 years old. They're 22 years old or younger, except Alonzo Trier, who is 24. But each of them have star potential in their own right. And they're good locker room guys and they're hard workers. And because Leon Rose wants to build around RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, that means Julius Randle is, in fact, the odd man out, even though they just signed him this past year. So, because of that, I wouldn't keep Julius Randle as he wouldn't fit with the vision of these Knicks. And honestly, you guys may have been wondering why I didn't say Frank Ntilikina, and that's because I've given up on him. I mean, he hasn't showed enough consistent quality of play to be someone that you want to keep. And I really think he's been a bust as a 7th overall pick. And the rest of the team, I honestly think are tradable veterans. You're looking at Maurice Harkless, Bobby Portis, Todd Gibson, so many others. I feel like they need to play their young guys and keep their young guys that really could show some star potential. And honestly, get rid of the bad contracts, like we said in the earlier podcast that we had with the Knicks.
Yeah, I think they should try to keep their young players. And you mentioned that Frank Ntilikina, that you gave up on him. But I think even with him, they should try to develop all those players like Alonzo Trio, Mitchell Robinson, Dennis Smith Jr., RJ Barrett, and Kevin Knox. I think they should try to develop all those players because even if you give up on a player like Frank Ntilikina, at least you want to trade him and get good value for him. So I think what you want to do is develop those guys and make them look like they're going to be good in the future. So teams will be willing to give up maybe a first round pick or some key players for Frank Ntilikina, but you're gonna want to let the other older players walk, like Bobby Portis and Julius Randle and Wayne Ellington. Those are players that are um, on their really old. Not Julius Randle, but like Wayne Ellington. I don't think he's worth like $8 million. So I think like letting them walk and go to other teams um, who might need them. I think that's the best for the New York Knicks. And if you're going to keep the veteran guys, I think you want to sign them for less than 5 million and tell them that they're not worth more. They're not worth more than just an average role player because Taj Gibson he has become he's become that player that he's older and he is not as good as he was before, but the New York Knicks still are playing him about like 28 to 30 minutes per game. So I don't, and that just limits the younger players minutes.
The
And
younger players' development, like Mitchell Robinson.
yeah,
That's definitely what I've been angry about. How they haven't been playing Mitchell Robinson. He's one of the blocks leaders, and he's only been playing like around 23 minutes a game,
yeah,
and it's kind of frustrating to see how the Knicks should continue to make these bad decisions with those players. Um, Honestly, about the Frank Ntilikina situation, how you want to develop him until he can be worth a first round pick. They had 3 years. They had 3 years to develop him, and he's shown that even with the extended opportunity, he hasn't been able to prove himself, and that's why I want to give up on him. But other than that, all these young players, I want to keep them because they could be stars, and because of that potential, I want to keep them, and at the very least, they'll definitely be quality rotational players.
yeah. You look at a guy like Kevin Knox. Last year, we thought he was the steal of the draft, and now you look at this year, he was he has not been that same player because he had 30 minutes last year, and now this year he has only 18 minutes. So that just shows that the New York Knicks aren't developing their players right. But I think with new president Leon Rose, they can help change the directions of the team and how they are and make them become possibly a playoff team in the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Hopefully, Leon Rose can take the Knicks fans out of their misery that they've been suffering for the
Yeah.
past decades.
Yeah, so in the year 2000, James Dolan took over the New York Knicks and had full ownership of the team. Since that, they have slid from a team that has made the playoffs consistently to a team that makes the lottery almost every year. They've been very unsuccessful, and a huge factor of that has been James Dolan. So, how much of a negative impact has James Dolan put on the Knicks?
A huge negative impact. You can see that he is definitely the reason why they are, in fact, the worst franchise in basketball. Apologies to all Knicks fans, but let's be honest, you guys probably think it's true as well. And I think sadly he tries to rule the Knicks organization with an iron fist. Everything happens exactly how he wants it. And honestly, I think that he believes the Knicks are like his toy that somehow earns him money while he continues to break them. You can see that he has been ruling it with an iron fist. You can see that whenever people chant "sell the team" in stadium games, and had them taken out. And I feel like he should listen to them because the Knicks won't do anything right until he either eases up the reins on the Knicks or he gives them up, meaning he should sell the team.
Yeah, I think he should, and I think he's being too like I think he's with all the fans getting kicked out of the games. I think that's just a little bit too much on his side. But you look at James Dolan, and I don't think he has really cared about the organization. I mean, the only reason why he's still the owner of the Knicks is because he's getting a lot of money. And even though they are a trash team, New York is one of the biggest markets in the NBA, and they're going to get you a lot of money even if the team is trash. So I think with that he's still getting enough money, and I think that satisfies him. But he's not an owner that's fully into his team or he's committed. And I don't even think he can name all 15 players on his roster because
I
because
wouldn't be surprised if he
yeah,
couldn't.
yeah, his team is not successful, and I think you want a guy that's an owner that's really into his team and a guy that really cares. A guy like Steve Ballmer or Mark Cuban, those guys really care about their team, and they don't care if they get fined or for any reason because they want their team to win. And that has been the case for both of those teams, as those teams are all making the playoffs almost every year now. Well, I think you need to fire or James Dolan sell the team. I know you can't necessarily fire him because he's the owner, but if you're James Dolan, you want to sell the team now because in the future you're just going to get a lot of hate for it. And if you sell the team now, I think you will get a lot of money for it. And if you go into the future and sell the team, you won't get as much money because you're going to still be the same trash team that you were in the past 20 years. But there's also proof of this. You can say that he is a bad owner, but there's actually a lot of proof because in 1980 through 2000, they made the playoffs 16 times and they made it to the finals 2 times. But when James Dolan took over in 2000, in these past 20 years, from 2000 to 2020, they've only made the playoffs 5 times. And you also look at their coaching history; they have had 12 coaches in the span of these 20 years with Dolan.
Wait, you said they made it 5 times?
Yes, the playoffs 5 times this 20 years.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I thought
Yes,
they made it less than 2 times.
yeah, they made it 5 times, but I think a couple of those times were right when James Dolan took over the team, so they were still a good team. But you
Yep.
also look at their coaching history. They have had 12 coaches over the span of 20 years with Dolan. That means it's less than two years with each coach. That just shows that the players can't develop correctly with a new coach almost every year, that the coaches are frustrated with Dolan because he is not making enough changes to the team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. But according to Leon Rose, he wants to find a new coach by the end of August, and I feel like that's a really good initiative that he's taking. That shows that he will be a worthwhile president that they signed. Do you think that James Dolan, just like Donald Sterling, multiple years ago, should be forced to sell the team?
I mean, he hasn't really done anything as bad as he has, but I think um, maybe eventually things will come out because you see last year or this year when before the season got suspended about a week or two before that, Spike Lee got kicked out of the game and he said that he wasn't ever going to
He's
come
done
back.
for the season.
Yeah, he was done for the season, and I think if he keeps doing stuff like that, kicking fans out the game, he will eventually be forced to sell the team and maybe even get a fine about $2 million, just like Donald Sterling did.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Hopefully, James Dolan can turn it around, or he might not get it anyway.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to the Under 24 podcast. Remember, we post every Friday on this channel. Make sure to subscribe and share this video as well. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see y'all next week.